in the future.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks for the goodies.
Oh, you're welcome.
Next on the agenda is Laura Hunsberger, Cooperative Extension. Good afternoon, Laura.
Hi there. Do I have to, okay, well, I won't bother with that then.
Yep.
I do not have much to report beyond what I submitted, except that we do have 3 new master gardeners that are going to be going through our training. It started in November, and which will be ending, I think, in March. It's being worked collaboratively between Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Allegheny. So it's, we haven't had a class for new master gardeners in several years, so it's exciting. And within 4-H, I think you may have read on the first page, we have a homemade holiday program in which we put together kits. Within 4-H, I think you may have read on the first page, we have a homemade holiday program.
That was
It's a
pretty
little
good.
creepy.
Your lips weren't even moving and we could hear your voice.
Okay, as long as everybody else is hearing it too, and it's not just me, right?
Okay.
So there was a homemade holiday in which the kids had to do an act of kindness in order to get these kits. And so a lot of them were making homemade cards to bring to retirement homes and things. So it was exciting and neat to see what sort of ideas kids came up with. So that became something that they were then doing at home. And lastly, Friday is my annual cranberry presentation that I give at Bolivar Richburg to Patricia Eshelman's senior class of her ag class. So it's always fun. We make our own homemade cranberry sauce, and they learn all about how cranberries are grown and harvested and used. So
Okay.
usually we do it around Thanksgiving, but I think they were working remotely at that time.
Yep.
So
Thank you, Laura. Anyone have any questions for Laura? Any clarifications on her report? Mrs. Hopkins?
Yes, Laura, I just wondered if the new master gardeners have any specialties that they particularly, know a lot about in terms of that?
well, one of them is Patricia Eshelman, and as you know, she's not only the New York State, but the national winner of the Ag in the Classroom award this year. So she has, beyond normal skills for being a master gardener. She also has a student who's 18 who's in her class who's going to be taking it. And the third person, I do not recall off the top of my head.
Okay.
But
Thank you. I'll just say a quick thing about Patricia Eshelman as well. She grew up in the 4-H system here, excelled with her animals, with her skills, and it's great that she has chosen to stay in Allegheny County.
Yep, I agree, 100%.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Laura? Yes, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cannabis growing for recreational purposes. Have you been fielding any questions from county residents on that?
We are not allowed to speak or give any information because we receive federal funds. So for the time being, we can't even mutter the word.
Have people shown interest, I guess?
They're always showing interest. When hemp, industrial hemp first came around, of course, there was overflow and such. But not as much as I would have expected, unless it's going to other people.
Thank you.
Mr. Healy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that's because it's still illegal federally, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's why banking and all that, at least you have to operate with cash, and at least that's what I saw in 60 Minutes, so. That's true.
Anyone else have any questions? Mr. Dibble?
Yes, I know we grow cranberries in Michigan. I always wondered why we didn't grow them in Allegheny County.
I'll talk to you about it later.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Laura.
Okay, thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas.
You too, and thank you, everybody. I'll reiterate what Brian said. We thank you all for all your service, and we're going to miss your faces. So I hope I get to see some of you in the future.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is County Administrator Carissa Knapp. Carissa, please.
Thank you. This is an MOE asking you to renew the agreement we have with the Allegheny County Federation of Snowmobilers. And this is, we are a pass-through on the snowmobile grants, and we use this federation agreement to do all the trail maintenance with the grant money we receive. There is a typo on the MOE. It says that the contract expired January 13th, 2021. It really expires January 13th, 2022. So these are one-year agreements. We currently have one, and it will expire in a few weeks.
I'll move,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. Mr. Dibble, thank you for your second. As amended? Yes. As the,
Isn't that what I said?
yes, that, Mr. Graves, that's what you were referring to, right? Thank you. All right, so, on the amendment, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and carried. And now on the, memorandum of explanation itself with the amendment. A motion by Mr. Graves, second by Mr. Dibble. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that is carried. And Carissa?
I've got another one too. So the second one is requesting an extension on our current lease with the Rushford Lake Recreation District. This is for the Rushford Beach that the county operates. These are 2-year agreements. Our current one expires at the end of this year. So this next one will run from January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2023. We pay a $1 fee. Mr. Boyd and I had a very nice conversation with the Lake District. It was a very productive meeting, talking about current beach operations, some of the improvements to the facilities that we anticipate making there in the future, and just asking the Lake District to respond back to us with any needs or other improvements that they could anticipate needing there. So they do use that area for other things, or along the beach at least. So I am asking to approve the agreement as we've always had it for another 2-year term.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second,
Mr.
Harris.
Fenton? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Harris. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Mr. Fanton, and I just want to kind of bring us up to date. DPW is looking at doing the modifications down there. So I would appreciate it. I really think that facility needs to be upgraded. So keep it in mind that we may be looking for some funds next year to do that. So thank you.
I agree. There looks like there needs to be some work done to that building to bring it into the next century. Mr. Dibble?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ralph Wilson Foundation has money out there for recreation, outdoor activities, so I suggest you contact Ralph Wilson's.
Okay. Probably that would go through DPW at the time they are requesting the funds. Right. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Barnes?
Yeah, just some information. The Rushford Lake Recreational District, what exactly is that group? Is that cottage owners or what is it?
It's a complicated group, and I almost would want to refer to the county attorney to explain it. So it's not even an association, it's above and beyond that.
No, it's a separately chartered municipal entity.
Mr. Minor, you can take off your mask when you're speaking, too.
Okay.
That would be easier.
Actually, this is something that I could speak to fairly well. Back when I started in practicing law back in 1980, it's one of the first things I was working with my partner at that time, David Pullen. And this is a time when RG&E was trying to figure out what they wanted to do with it. And with a lot of work, working with RG&E and state officials and local officials, this was passed through Albany, creating the Rushford Lake Recreation District. So it's a separate municipal entity. They have their own governing body. And I don't know, any more questions on that?
Well, who makes it, who makes up the, how do they get appointed to the committee?
They have a board, and members within the Rushford Lake Recreation District can vote for the membership on that board. Although I think that both the town of Canady and the town of Rushford are allowed to appoint one member to that board. Is it a 5-member board, if I recall properly? Yeah.
See, I told you it was more complicated. It's not just a Lake Owners Association. And those were part of the conversations Mr. Boyd and I had with the Lake District. They're a municipal entity, but it's a much different one than a county or a town, but they still have other issues that they're dealing with the state with that we talked about. So it's a complicated process there.
Okay, Mr. Stockton?
I'd add one other thing to that. They have powers to run the district, but they can't enact laws. So anytime they want a law done that applies to the lake, both Rushford and Candia have to approve that for them. But it's a 5-member board, 3 elected. They're elected annually. There is a Rushford Lake Landowners Association that's separate.
That would be the Rushford Town Board and the Candia Town Board that would have to act on that, correct?
There's an elevation mark around the lake called the 1450 mark, and the RLRD controls everything from 1450 down to the water, and then the landowners and deal with the above that.
Mr. Dibble?
Thank you. Just a comment. I believe the Lake Association sells the water RG&E. Somewhere around the 15th of October, they lower the lake down, which makes that stream coming down from the lake a Class 3 whitewater, and it more than doubles the flow in the river. So it's a great place to go kayaking, and on the 15th of October, for those out there in the world.
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
Any more questions for?
Mr. Chairman, could I just make a comment as well? The Lake District is unique in the fact also that they prepare their own budget, and then those budgets are submitted to the town of Candia and the town of Rushford and are levied with their town and county tax. So they do have their own taxing district as well.
Thank you, Mrs. Ross. Mike Healy?
Thank you, Chairman. Probably for the county attorney, that'd be considered a municipal board, would it be?
I would think it's like a municipal board. It certainly is not town government, but it's a quasi-municipal board.
Thank you.
Mr. Stocking?
If anybody's interested, if you take the 2 towns on the lake, 17% of the property around the lake is in Candia. All the rest of it's in Rushford. So.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll vote on this. I believe we have a motion already, right? Okay. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that's carried. Is there any other old business come before the committee? Any new business? Good of the order. If I could say one thing, this is my last Resource Management Committee meeting as chair. It's been a pleasure to serve the county in this capacity, and look forward to hearing and reading reports on the next board, whoever is chairman and whoever makes up the next Resource Management Board or Resource Management Committee. Thank you. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I have the pleasure here of also being in the same situation as you are, and it's been a pleasure serving on this committee also. And with that in mind, as there appears to be no further business to conduct, I move we adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Graves, seconded by Mr. Dibble. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And we are adjourned. Thank you.